I never thought the day would come when my own daughter would feel scared in her own backyard. But that's exactly what happened. She walked in from school only to find a group of women splashing around in our pool, and one of them was Claudia Hensley, the president of our HOA. She looked my little girl straight in the eyes and said, "Don't worry, sweetheart, we'll be out soon." That was the moment I knew this fight wasn't just about property anymore. It was about respect, safety, and power. Act 1. The Spark. My name's Preston Gaines. My wife Tanya and I had saved for years to build a backyard pool. It wasn't just concrete and water, it was the dream we'd promised our kids Jordan and Ava. Hot Carolina afternoons, laughter echoing over the deck, something we could all be proud of. The day construction wrapped up, I stood there with my chest out thinking, this right here, this is proof of my hard work. But only days later that pride turned sour. One evening I came home from my shift at the distribution center, kicked off my boots and walked out back. My flip-flops, always dry by the corner, were wet, damp, like someone else had slipped into them. I hadn't been in the pool. The kids were still at school. Tanya shook her head. She hadn't touched the water either. That's when I noticed faint wet footprints leading from the shallow end toward the gate. I tried to brush it off. Maybe the kids had rushed a dip without telling me. Maybe I was imagining things. But the next morning I found a flamingo floaty bobbing in the water, one we hadn't even opened from the box yet. Day after day, more signs, a chair nudged out of place, droplets still wet, long after the sun dried everything else. Once a strange towel slung over our fence. By Thursday I couldn't take it anymore. Sitting at the table with Tanya, I admitted someone's using our pool. She leaned in whispering like the walls might hear. What about Claudia? Claudia Hensley. Late 50s, polished blouses, sun hat, the type who reminded everyone of HOA rules, but left her own trash cans out for days. She had frowned the whole time construction crews were in our yard, lips pressed tight like she was sucking on lemons. I didn't want to accuse anyone, but something in my gut said Tanya was right. So I bought cameras, motion activated. One aimed at the pool, one at the gate. Didn't take long. The very next day I sat with my coffee phone in hand, and there it was, video of Claudia herself. She strolled in through the gate, towel tucked under her arm, sandals kicked off like it was her personal spa. For 40 minutes she floated, even helped herself to a soda from the cooler. My jaw clenched so hard I could taste metal. I showed Tanya. She gasped. That's trespassing. And it wasn't just trespassing, it was the HOA president, the one who'd write up anyone else in a heartbeat. The following afternoon, Claudia had the nerve to wave at me from across the street. "Morning, Preston." Like nothing had happened. I wanted to march over, phone in hand, but Tanya gripped my arm. Not yet. She'll twist it. And twist it she did. Act 2. Escalation and the breaking point. I confronted her eventually. Walked straight up, video cued on my phone. She barely flinched. Just said, "Yes, that's me." The gate was open. I was checking on safety. No harm done. No harm done? She lounged in my pool for 40 minutes. When I told her never to step foot in my yard again, her smile thinned. "Careful, Preston. The HOA has rules. Maybe you should worry about your patio furniture. Not exactly within guidelines." That's when it hit me. She wasn't embarrassed. She was going to retaliate. 2 days later I got the first violation letter. Solar lights by the deck. Danger to aesthetic uniformity. Then umbrella color unapproved. Recycling bins visible too long. A tree too tall even though it had been there before we moved in. Every letter was a dagger. Every letter screamed, "I'm in charge. I can bury you." And then she brought friends. More women splashing, sipping sodas, dragging their tote bags across my deck like it was community property. Claudia even looked at the camera and smiled like she was daring me to act. But the lowest blow came when Ava found them. She opened the gate after school, saw 4 adults in our pool, and froze. And Claudia, smiling with that fake sweetness, told her, "Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll be out soon." My daughter, in tears, told me later she felt like she didn't belong in her own backyard. That night I slammed my fist on the table. Enough. She crossed the line. But even as I raged, doubt crept in. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe the HOA really did have some technicality. I looked at Tanya, at Jordan, at Ava, and for a moment I felt hollow, powerless. I thought about selling the house, giving up. And then Jordan looked me in the eye. "Dad, you always told me to stand up to bullies. That's what she is. So why does she get away with it?" That was the gut punch I needed. I realized if I gave up, I was teaching my kids to bow down to intimidation. So I changed tactics. I built a case. Every letter, every video clip, every still frame of Claudia strutting into my yard, I printed, labeled, and stacked like an attorney preparing for trial. I wasn't just going to argue, I was going to expose her. Act 3. The Showdown. The night of the HOA meeting, the clubhouse was packed. Folding chairs lined the walls, neighbors whispering curious. Claudia sat at the front, navy blazer, clipboard in hand. She smirked at me when I walked in, tapping her pen like she already won. When my turn came, I walked up, slow folder under my arm, my voice steady. For weeks my family has dealt with unauthorized entry into our backyard. I have proof. I handed over the flash drive. On the screen, the room watched as Claudia strolled through. My gate floated in my pool, cracked open my soda. Then another clip, her laughing with friends, waving off my daughter like she didn't exist. Gasps, whispers a man, muttering, "That's unbelievable." Claudia stood chin high. These videos are misleading. The gate was open. I was ensuring safety. I snapped back, voice sharp. "Safety. You call drinking from my cooler and bringing guests into my yard a safety check." Silence fell. Gerald, the HOA president, leaned forward. "Mrs. Hensley, do you deny swimming in Mr. Gaines's pool?" Claudia hesitated. Then, "Yes, I swam. But I believed the community had access." The room erupted in laughter. One neighbor barked, "Community access. It's his backyard." I seized the moment. This isn't just trespassing. This is abuse of power. An HOA board member intimidating homeowners while breaking the very rules she enforces. Gerald sighed, pinched the bridge of his nose. Finally, he spoke. "Given the evidence, I propose immediate suspension of Mrs. Hensley from all HOA duties. Effective now, she is prohibited from entering Mr. Gaines's property." The vote was swift. Hands shot up, 4 in favor, 1 abstained, none against. Claudia's face drained of color. She gathered her clipboard, her heels clacking hard across the tile, and stormed out. No smirk, no excuses, just silence. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Closing note. And that's where the story ends. Not with a party, not with champagne by the pool, but with the sound of Claudia's footsteps fading as she lost the power she'd abused for so long. The lesson: silence feeds bullies. The moment you speak up, their power crumbles.